Hi, this is Daryl Myatt from Keller, Texas. Today is Monday, April 25th, 2011. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Mine was incredibly busy, and yesterday was just an awesome day of worship. I'm so glad we serve a risen Savior, and I hope you know Him like I do. Anyway, let's get right to it. This first story out of Arut Sheva. I want to give you an idea the kind of people that Israel is trying to make peace with. The story says Palestinian Authority police kill an Israeli near Joseph's tomb. Palestinian Authority police Sunday morning shot and killed one Israeli and wounded four others after they prayed at Joseph's tomb. Well, there's a terrible crime, isn't it? Around 6 a.m. Sunday, the murder victim was identified as 24-year-old Ben Yosef Livnet, a nephew of Likud minister Lemur Livnet and father of four children. Arabs attacked the funeral procession with rocks as it proceeded from his childhood home to Jerusalem, where he lived with his wife and four children. At least one car windshield was broken in the rock attacks, but no one was injured. People from Ilan Morah stood by the highway in dozens of cars as the funeral procession passed. One of the three who were wounded in the shooting attack is in serious condition, and Army helicopters evacuated the injured to a hospital for emergency care. A group of 15 worshippers from the Breslov Chassidic sect had driven to the site and were returning when they were gunned down by Palestinian Authority police in a jeep. The PA security forces continued to fire at the cars as they fled. Let's see. Kever Yosef is a Jewish holy site, Joseph's tomb, and it was supposed to be under Israeli control and open to worshippers as stated in previous agreements. However, the government has surrendered the area to Palestinian Authority control, and local Arabs have desecrated it several times. And again, the story goes on. These guys didn't do anything. They didn't break any laws. Palestinian Authority just decided to open fire on them. The attack on the morning before the last day of Passover holiday comes less than a month after the savage stabbings of Rabbi Udi Fogel, his wife Ruthie, and three of their 6 young children, including a 3-month-old baby. Residents of Judea and Samaria frequently have warned that the removal of roadblocks and checkpoints in the area would make it easier for Arab terrorists to stage attacks and would encourage PA police to attack Jews. Seems to be happening. Defense Minister Ehud Barak has argued that the easing of security measures are a goodwill gesture that strengthen PA Chairman Mahmoud Abbas's popularity and help him fight terror. Yet it causes more deaths of innocents in Israel. Yes, this is a problem. Where's the UN? Where's the outrage? Okay, I could see if the guy was shooting at somebody and they took him out, but he was praying at a tomb. I guess that's a high crime now, right, to the UN? This story out of the Jerusalem Post, the PA will defer UN statehood bid if serious talks begin. Not sure what their definition of serious is. The Palestinian leadership will defer its plan to seek a declaration of statehood in the United Nations this September if real and serious negotiations begin before that point, PLO Executive Committee Secretary General Yasser Abed Rabo told London-based Al Hayat on Monday. Abed Rabo added that the Palestinians have only 2 options in their playbook, and that if it is not satisfied by renewed talks, it will go ahead with the United Nations plan. What are they? All of Israel or going to the UN, right? Probably. Describing what the Palestinian Authority would find acceptable in negotiations, he said they must be based on benchmarks set by the quartet, notably being based on pre-1967 lines with minimal land exchanges without any population transfer. Abed Rabo added that if the United Nations does confer statehood on a Palestinian state, that one of its first moves would be to ask the international community to force Israel to withdraw its military forces from Palestinian territories. Speculating on the level of support the Palestinians can expect to receive in their planned statehood bid, he told Al Hayat that the vast majority of influential countries, including European countries, will recognize the state of Palestine, predicting near unanimous support. Abed Rabo also discussed what moves the Palestinian leadership might take following a declaration of Palestinian statehood in the United Nations. He pointed to instances ranging from Kosovo to current interventions in the Middle East as examples of the international community's increased willingness to support freedom. The PLO official said that the Palestinians would rely on international law to accomplish their goals. I just think this is going to get really ugly before September, and we can only hope and pray for peace, pray for the peace of Jerusalem, like the Bible says, and it will come eventually, but maybe not until Jesus comes. Here's another story out of Jerusalem Post. Landau says Israel should annex the West Bank if the PA gets statehood. Minister of National Infrastructure says, I'll call for annexation if Palestinians get unilateral state in the UN. We have to take care of our interest. Dr. Uzziah Landau, Israel's Minister of National Infrastructure, warns that in the event of a unilateral United Nations declaration of a Palestinian state, he will call upon Israel to annex the Jordan Valley and large Jewish-populated blocks in the West Bank. We'll have to take care of our interests, Landau told Inside Israel's Mordecai 1, I. Twersky in a wide-ranging interview on April 21st. We'll have to protect ourselves. If such a thing happens, I'm going to suggest to my government to extend our sovereignty over the Jordan Valley and over the highly populated blocks we have in Judea and Samaria, just to start with. The former chairman of the Knesset's Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee invoked the Bush Roadmap and a letter of commitment issued by the former president committing to Israel's retention of major Jewish population centers in the West Bank in any negotiated settlement with the Palestinians. If that signed agreement can't be honored, he said, all bets are off. If we don't see negotiations, and if we do a policy which basically makes the entire roadmap agreement a hoax, Israel should take care of its own interest, said Minister Landau. Landau said the Arab Spring has brought chaos to the Middle East and could well spread to the important Western allies of Jordan and Saudi Arabia. He questioned the logic of Israel signing a peace deal with a Palestinian leader whose own future and that of his government remains tenuous at best. Who knows what's going to happen in the future to any agreement we sign with, let's say, another chief of tribe in Judea and Samaria, asked Minister Landau. Today it's Abu Mazen, who is Palestinian Authority Mahmoud Abbas. Who's it going to be in the future, he asked. Landau said the U.S. administration's continued insistence that a peace agreement between Israel and the Palestinian Authority is key to wider stability in the region, even in the face of spreading Arab unrest, is completely incomprehensible. This is clearly totally detached from the present reality in the Middle East, said Landau. Anyone who lives here clearly understands that this is totally detached from the Middle East reality. Again, all these other countries trying to tell little Israel what to do. I think they can handle themselves. Here's something out of Yahoo.com. Syria seals the border with Jordan. Syria today sealed off its border with Jordan, the kingdom's information minister Tahir Adwan said, hours after troops backed by tanks swept into the Syrian southern flashpoint town Daraa, D-A-R-A-A. Syria closed its land borders with Jordan. The Syrian decision is related to the internal situation in Syria, Adwan told the state-run Petra news agency. We hope movement at the border goes back to normal soon. Thousands of Syrian troops backed by tanks swept into Daraa, around 5 kilometers from the Jordanian frontier, firing on residents and leaving bodies lying in the streets, activists and witnesses said. One witness reported seeing 5 bodies in a car that had been riddled with bullets. Said they tried to cross into Syria, but the authorities closed the only 2 border posts with Jordan. Another witness said he could see Syrian tanks, armored cars, and troops blocking the road. Oh man, this is getting pretty intense over there. And you know, anytime Syria comes up, I have to think of Isaiah 17:1, which says Damascus will be utterly destroyed. It'll become a ruinous heap and no longer exist as a city. It's never happened in all of the history of Damascus. This is a prophecy that is staring us right in the face. Here's more on this out of the Depka file. Syrian deaths soar as tanks, snipers, commandos mow down civilians. Bashar Assad has launched an all-out war on his own people. Tanks firing artillery, APCs, infantry units, commandos, and snipers were deployed for the first time at daybreak Monday, April 25th, today, in cities across Syria for the most brutal assault on any Arab anti-government protest in the 4-month uprising. In the first few hours, hundreds are estimated to have been massacred, over and above the 350 shot dead in the last 3 days, and thousands injured. Denied medical attention, they are left in the streets to die. Again, where's the UN? Where's the Red Cross? Where are these people crying foul? Depka files military sources report that protest centers in cities with populations of 2 to 3 million have been stormed by Syrian troops, backed by tanks firing automatic 120 millimeter guns at random. Commandos dropped by helicopter and snipers. The military offensive to break the back of the uprising is led by his younger brother Mahir Assad at the head of the Republican Guard and the 4th Division, which is made up mostly of Assad's Alawite clan. Its first target Sunday night was the southern town of Daraa, where the protest movement began, in the Mediterranean coastal town of Jabla. Oh man, all this fighting. Indiscriminate fire was reported in Duma, a dissident suburb of the capital Damascus. Thousands of soldiers had spread out across the north, south, and center of the country, apparently preparing to storm the large cities and protest centers of Hama, Homs, Latakia, and the Kurdish north. Where's this going to lead? Is NATO going to step in here like they did in Libya with Muammar Gaddafi fighting against his own people? What is the cause of all these uprisings? Interesting how all this is unraveling here as we approach the return of Jesus Christ, isn't it? This tells us there will be godlessness and lawlessness, and the love of many will grow cold. Jesus said it himself. As it gets closer to the end, you will see all these things. Kingdom against kingdom. We're seeing that way more in the last couple of weeks. Libyans fighting each other. Tunisians fighting each other. Now we've got Syrians fighting each other. Saudi Arabia having words with Iran. Sunnis versus Shiite. Kingdom against kingdom. Nation against nation. Oh, Lord, thank you for the truth of your word. Here's something out of Yahoo. Iran says it has uncovered a second cyber attack. This out of Tehran. Today, Iran says it has been hit by a second computer virus, a senior military official said today, suggesting it was part of a concerted campaign to undermine the country's disputed nuclear program. I'm all for a virus if it can stop them. Instead of bombing them or going to war, yeah, we'll do whatever we can in a peaceful way. Whatever it takes to set them back from getting nuclear weapons, because the moment they have a nuclear weapon, I'm afraid they're going to launch it against Israel, against Europe, against America, whoever, to create the global chaos that Mahmoud Ahmadinejad claims he has to have in order to usher in his 12th Imam, or Mahdi. Okay? This is called the SARS virus. SARS. It's been presented to a laboratory but still being investigated, said Gholam Reza Jalali, the head of Iranian military unit in charge of combating sabotage. So let's see if the SARS virus can be a little more successful than the Stuxnet. Here's something out of Market Watch. The IMF, the International Monetary Fund, has just dropped a bombshell, and nobody even noticed. You may hear this in the next couple of days or so, but probably not today. The IMF says the age of America nears its end. Huh. What a headline, right? That kind of grabbed my attention. You can kind of see why I pulled this one up. For the first time ever, the international organization has set a date for the moment when the age of America will end and the U.S. economy will be overtaken by that of China. and it's a lot closer than you may think. According to the latest IMF official forecast published last week, China's economy will surpass that of America in real terms in 2016, just 5 years from now. Put that in your calendar. It provides a painful context for the budget wrangling taking place in Washington right now. It raises enormous questions about what the international security system is going to look like in just a handful of years. And it casts a deepening cloud over both the U.S. dollar and the giant treasury market, which have been propped up for decades by their privileged status as the liabilities of the world's hegemonic power. U.S.-China to hold economic talks in early May. Oh boy. According to the IMF forecasts, whomever is elected U.S. president next year, Obama, Mitt Romney, Donald Trump, whoever, will be the last president to preside over the world's largest economy. Most people aren't prepared for this. They're not even aware that it's close. A lot of experts of various opinions will tell you this moment is decades away. The most bearish will put the figure in the mid-2020s, but they're miscounting. They're only comparing the gross domestic product of the two countries using current exchange rates. That's a largely meaningless comparison in real terms. Exchange rates change quickly, and China's exchange rates are phony. China artificially undervalues its currency, the renminbi, through massive intervention in the markets. Interesting. So, Obama is doing a great job of bringing America to her knees. You know, it had to be done in order for America to be taken out of the way so the world can come against Israel. America is Israel's greatest ally and strongest ally. And sadly, America has to be brought down in order for Bible prophecies to continue, I think. But I don't think we'll go away. Americans aren't going to go away without a fight. I can assure you that. And, listen, I'm an American. I love America. I love my country. But God comes first. Okay? God is first. He's always at the top of the list. Make sure you have your priorities in order. If America goes down, it's not going to affect my salvation. If I lose my job, again, it will not affect my salvation. But I have to keep God number one and top of the list, and so do you. If you don't, maybe you need to rethink your priorities. Just saying. Here's something out of energypublisher.com. Christians face charges in Algeria for blasphemy. According to a press release, International Christian Concern, the ICC, has learned that 2 Algerian Christians are scheduled to appear in court in the Muslim-majority country on charges of proselytizing and blasphemy and may face a 5-year prison sentence. The 2 men were arrested and briefly imprisoned after sharing their Christian faith with their neighbors. You know, I'm tired of hearing these stories from Muslim countries, how Christians are thrown in jail just for telling others about Jesus. I just want to go on record right now, for all the Muslims listening, Jesus Christ is the Son of God and the only way to salvation, and the Quran is from the devil himself. Just throwing that out there for you. I would like to see this country become as intolerant toward Muslims as their countries are toward Christians. Not in a hateful way, just in a way that they need to hear the truth. And trust me, I don't hate the Muslims. I pray for them all the time. I pray they come into the truth of Jesus Christ, because He is the Son of God, a fact that they deny. In fact, there's many that deny Jesus Christ. Okay, give me some word. I need some word right now. Psalm 147, verse 10 and 11. Let's read that. He does not delight in the strength of the horse. He takes no pleasure in the legs of a man. The Lord takes pleasure in those who fear Him, in those who hope in His mercy. Okay. Let me just say that God being who and what He is, And we being who and what we are, the only thinkable relation between us is one of full lordship on his part and complete submission on our part. We owe him every honor that it is in our power to give him. He is God of all things. The Bible says the earth is the Lord's and everything in it. Includes you and me. In Psalm 147 we discover a very important secret about relating to the Lord. Our great and mighty God, who has absolute power over everything in heaven and on earth, is not impressed with powerful people. Those who are strong and mighty in their own strength don't get God's attention. Instead, it is the brokenhearted and the humble he notices and supports. You can read those in verse 3 and verse 6. He's not impressed with Oprah's money. He's not impressed with Obama's popularity. He's not impressed with Arnold Schwarzenegger's bulging muscles in his prime. He chooses to work not through those who are strong, but through those who are weak. And most of all, we don't earn his approval by being great or strong. He delights in those who reverently honor him and put their hope and trust in his unfailing love and mercy, not in their own ability. So today, if you've put the hope in anyone or anything else, ask the Lord to forgive you. But don't stop there. Ask his Spirit to so work in your life that your primary goal becomes honoring and pleasing God. I'm just as guilty. Lord, if there's been any times when I've relied on someone or something else other than you, please forgive me. You alone are God, and I trust in you always, Father. Let me go to Esther 2, verse 15. When the turn came for Esther to go to the king, she asked for nothing other than what Haggai, the king's eunuch, who was in charge of the harem, suggested, and Esther won the favor of everyone who saw her. We're talking about prep time. You know, watching the nightly news can be very disturbing, if not completely frightening. But times of unrest are nothing new, and they're going to get worse, I promise you. People have been killing people, often in the name of God and religion, since the beginning of time. Eugene Peterson, who wrote the Message translation of the Bible, put it quite aptly in his introduction to the book of Esther. He said there's a long history of killing men and women simply because they are perceived as reminders or representatives of the living God, as if killing people who worship God gets rid of God himself. The book of Esther details a time in history when the people of Persia were experiencing a time much like that. Persia, of course, is modern-day Iran. The horrible Haman threatened to eliminate the entire Jewish nation, but God moved a humble Jewish orphan girl into a powerful position, and Esther became an unlikely heroine who saves her people from destruction. Esther, who was this beautiful orphan who eventually became the Queen of Persia, teaches us a lot about integrity by doing three very important things. She thought before she acted. She sought advice from someone wiser than herself, and she took the time to prepare for her new situation in life, a royal queen who would have the authority to save the Jewish people. And this time of preparation was no last-minute fly-by-the-seat-of-her-pants instruction. In fact, it included 12 months of schooling and guidance from one of the king's top advisors. Esther patiently endured this long period of training to ensure the king would respond favorably to her, choose her as his queen, so that she could then save her people from Haman and his hideous plan to destroy the Jews. And thanks to Esther's integrity and perseverance, God used her to bring deliverance to her people. God uses the humble and the lowly and those who seek him before he's going to use the great and mighty and the powerful and the rich and the famous to do his work. So, let me ask you, have you made yourself available for God to use you? And if so, what are you going to do to be a servant of the Most High God? Think about it. God bless you guys. It's good to see you again. Good Lord willing, I'll see you again tomorrow.